Now, back to Coastal Living on KZTV.
Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited to be back, and we're celebrating our first weekend back on air. The weather's been pretty nice. Jocelyn, have you been fishing?
Oh, you're certainly right, Clarissa. It has been amazing out there, and I have been fishing. I have to take advantage of the gorgeous weather. So speaking of which, the last time I went fishing, I caught a limit of trout, and I used live shrimp, in which we're going to talk a little bit more about with Captain John Little. But first, let me just say this is a great bait to use whenever you want to catch the redfish, trout, and flounder here in our Coastal Bend area. So it's time for our favorite Friday segment, the Coastal Living Fishing Line with Captain John Little, and he's going to show you guys how to rig up a live shrimp or artificial. Check it out.
The way that I rig them, sometimes these will come pre-rigged and they've already got a hook, so you just have to tie them to the line. But if they don't, what I'll do is I'll take a 2/0 hook underneath the popping cork, just like I've showed y'all before. And they have, on the live shrimp, they'll have a horn that comes from here straight forward. And what you're gonna do is right behind the eyes and under that horn, you're gonna come straight through. It'll look just like this. As soon as you hook it just like that, that's going to be a natural presentation in the water that the trout and the redfish just cannot resist. It gives this tail easy access to keep flopping through the water just like they normally do. And it's going to be a perfect presentation for catching trout and redfish when you're out on the water. So live shrimp and the artificial can both be rigged the same, just like that. Every time that you pop that popping cork, it's going to pop the tail up and it's going to look like a natural presentation. And of course your live shrimp, you'll see them dancing around the cork. Whenever you cast it out, sometimes the trout and the redfish will be underneath them and they're going to be ready to eat them. And you'll see that trout or the bait fish jumping around. You know you're about to get a bite then. It's really exciting. So that's exactly how I rig them. This is very basic, very easy, but it's very, very successful. It works really well. So hope y'all can get out on the water. Hope everybody's safe. A huge shout out and a big thank you to all of the first responders out there and everyone who has to work during these tough times. All of the essential people out there, anyone who has to work during these times, my cap is off to you. I appreciate it. Thank y'all very much. Please be safe out there and God bless you. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Man, I can't wait to have Captain John Little back in the studio. This will have to do for now, but I absolutely am adding fishing to my to-do list for this weekend. Hopefully I can make it out. Now, whether you're out fishing or enjoying our Coastal Bend beaches, it is so important to be conscious of the pollution, conscious of your trash, and even doing your part to pick up maybe some other people's trash. I was able to visit with Park Ranger Dustin Baker, who's going to tell us more about the impact we can make on local beaches. Thank you for joining us today, Dustin.
Yes, of course.
Well, I'm eager to discuss this topic because it's a constant issue, something we'll always have to do. Now we have a little extra time on our hands to make a difference. The pollution on the island is always going to be an issue, but we're here to discuss how it affects our marine life and how we can help make a difference. What do you have to say about that?
Right. So right where Padre Island sits, you have a convergence of longshore currents. And so even in a perfect world where no one ever littered again at Padre Island National Seashore, you would still get debris from the Brazos, Colorado rivers, the Mississippi, Rio Grande, going out into the ocean and winding up on our beach. So there will always be a problem of marine debris pollution on the island. And unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we had a missed opportunity to have a large Adopt a Beach cleanup that we have every spring, because it involves gatherings of upwards of 100 people.
Which I'm sure is very effective when you're able to have it. So now when you're cruising up and down the beaches, are you a little disheartened knowing that a lot of it could have already been cleaned up had we had the event?
Sure, but what I want to talk about today is what a single person can do. Earlier this week,
still make a difference.
Right, and I don't want people to have a defeatist attitude, like there's no point because it's going to be there anyway. What I did earlier this week was I headed out to the shore and gave myself 1 hour just to show how much plastic a person can pick up in that amount of time. And just in a single hour, I estimate that I picked up about 50 pounds of plastic. It filled up 2 buckets. And the point I want to make is that was just one person. Imagine if a family went out there and did that together. Imagine if everyone who visited the seashore put in 1 hour in their trip to clean up plastic. And you can see then extrapolate out when we have 100 or so people doing that during our cleanups, why they're so valuable.
Absolutely. And one person can really make a huge difference. Even if it's not an hour, when I go to the beach, I try to make it a point to just clean up my area, whether it's my mess or not. Of course, there are certain precautions you want to take when cleaning up other people's messes. Is there a protocol that we should follow when we're picking up trash around the island?
Sure. I mean, proper safety things to consider. You want to wear sunscreen so you don't get a sunburn out there. You definitely want to wear gloves for hygiene reasons. You don't necessarily know exactly what kind of germs are on what you're picking up. I wear a mask due to current events, but it's not required on the beach, but it's good to have for those moments where you can't social distance, where it's impossible. I like to use a grabber. They're easily available at hardware stores, and that saves, the backache later that day. And then you don't even have to really worry about touching anything. But one unfortunate thing is if you spend any amount of time picking up litter, you might come across something dangerous like a needle. And we just want to remind people that if you do find a needle on the beach, don't pick it up. Instead, maybe flag it, put a stick in the ground where you found it. Remember the location it was in and tell a ranger about it later so they can go and recover that safely.
Dustin, thank you so much for your time and for sharing this valuable information with us. We always look forward to our Coastal Bend Beach Report, and you all have been so helpful. Thank you. I think we all got some really useful information, and maybe a light bulb went off. We realized what a huge impact we can have on our Coastal Bend beaches. So just be conscious of pollution. Do your part to help keep Texas roads, beaches, and parks clean. All right, guys, coming up, we have your Coastal Living Challenge of the Day and some really great live music. Texas Talent. We'll be right back.
You're watching Coastal Living on KZTV. Get the scoop on all things local by following us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be right back on Coastal Living.